Thank you, Quartzy, and welcome to the From the 108 podcast. Get ready for some baseball, beer, and bullshit. And remember the drinking rules. If Beefloaf says allegedly, or that he wrote a blog about it, you drink. If I swear or say, here's the thing, you drink. And that's it for tonight, because there's no My Sock Summer here tonight for us to make fun of his inability to say players' names or even talk about the West Coast. So we're a little short there, but one thing I did, Beef, yesterday, new president inaugurated. And,
yes.
So I was watching a little bit of the inauguration thing, and I'm kind of sitting there thinking, this is just the evening stuff. So like the bands are playing and whatnot.
Yep.
And I was thinking, there's no way he got to pick the music, right? Like they picked the music for him. So think about that. You work your whole life to achieve like one of the highest honors in America, right? You're the president of the United States, probably one of the highest honors in the world, right?
Very unattainable goal, basically. Yeah. It's like an unattainable goal for something.
You get to it, you have a party for it, you don't even get to select the playlist.
That's right.
It's bullshit.
You got to think about it. He's 78 or 79 years old, something like that. I mean, what was he listening to when he was 18? You know, like I can't even, you think back to what's in the early 50s. Like what kind of music are you?
1850s, right? I mean,
I think so. That's right.
I don't know. Like, I know. Like, let's say it's the 50s. Let's say like he's coming of age in the 50s.
Yeah.
Like, dude, I'm sure they could have dug Jerry Lee Lewis up to play a couple tunes,
That's something Ray Charles. You listen to Ray Charles or something like that?
I saw Jerry Lee Lewis a couple years ago at Riot Fest. Guy's still out there, man. Could have had.
I love it.
Yeah, I mean, like I guess a lot of those dudes are, not with us. So like it's a little tough, but I'm sure like you could get like someone who does that style or someone who's does covers of that. Like they gotta exist, right? But I don't know. They should have got the guy that does the God Bless America at Comiskey and just had him do all Sinatra tunes for him. Maybe he'd be into that. I feel like he was probably into Sinatra. He feels like that. Like that's kind of his vibe.
I could see that. Yeah, I could definitely see that. I could see him being into that whole group, right? The Sammy Davis Jr. and the whole Rat Pack.
I kind of feel like anyone that age was into that. I don't know. Maybe they weren't, but I associate it.
We're typecasting right now. Old people, you all like Rat Pack. That's what it is. There's nothing you can't get away from it.
But I mean, like imagine if everyone our age was like, or everyone thought people our age loved Snoop. They'd be right.
That's right. They'd be great. Someone is in the YouTube chat. We're on YouTube Live, as most of you know, and they said that Joe definitely listened to some Sabbath and some Led Zeppelin. I'll take your word for it. He would have been in his 40s by the time that shit was coming through. But hey,
you know what? Having Ozzy there would have been something. Especially because Ozzy wouldn't have really known that he was there.
Ozzy would have pissed himself on stage. It would have been like Liam Neeson.
I feel like now that the average age of everyone in politics is 150, probably literally everyone pissed themselves yesterday. A lot of spritzing for sure. Beef, how you doing tonight, man?
I'm good. Missing our guy My Sock Summer. He's taking a night off. He's been working his ass off with the 108 day, so we're giving him one night off, and you and I are going to do the podcast together. I was thinking about this, Treasy. You know how people reminisce about seeing greatness, particularly like great rivalries, right? Like people always talk about like watching Bird and Magic, and we watched them when we were little kids, like watching them in the finals play against each other, or Brady versus Manning. Like we watched a lot of that over our adult lives, like the matchups, or someone like Frazier versus Ali, which we weren't lucky enough to watch, or Tiger Woods versus Phil Mickelson, which we're not in the golf, but people love that. But right damn now, we have that going on between the Dr. Rick commercial from Progressive versus the tag team, which is DC, the Brain Supreme, and Steve Rowland doing their Scoop There It Is for Geico commercial. Two rare, excellent commercials of our lifetime. I can't get enough of either of them, Treasy. And what I'm wondering is, are we going to see a souped up version of each in the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl is right around the corner. And these are the two best commercials probably of the last 5 years, maybe the last decade.
So here's the thing. I don't know what else you could do with the scoop there it is bit. Right? Like I don't know how much that stretches. The Dr. Rick thing stretches miles. So I'm almost assured that there's going to be a Super Bowl commercial for it. Like there has to be.
There has to be, right? I mean, I freaking love Dr. Rick. It was so funny because you came over and then mom and dad came over last weekend. We're masked up, we're inside, but you wanted to give gifts to Bonilla Stakey for 11th birthday. Happy birthday, Bonilla Stakey. It was your 11th. And the Dr. Rick commercial came on and we were laughing about how much we liked it. And mom and dad had the look on their face like they did not like it as much because it hit home a little too hard. And that's how you know it was a good commercial. That's how you knew it was like, oh yeah, this is making fun of you, saying that people like us would be just like you. And it's exactly the way it should go.
Our parents, I don't put into that category as much, but I get where they can be like, yeah, this is making fun of me.
Yes.
But yeah, no, I mean, like I don't know. I like that commercial or those commercials a lot. And is it me or does the one dude just kind of remind you of Big Cat, by the way? Like the one dude with the glasses. I don't know why. He's got a little bit of a Big Cat vibe to him. So, I mean, I hope Big Cat's keeping track of that for Halloween next year.
That's a great call.
I don't know what year it is.
Actually, if this Barstool thing falls through, you never know. I mean, businesses go bust all the time. I mean, that could be a secondary role for him. It's kind of funny watching these commercials.
Be that guy's stunt double? What?
he could kill that guy and then he'll step in and actually do the job in a commercial. You know, we're watching this and Mrs. Beef loves it and Bonita doesn't like it as much as we do, but she likes making fun of us when we're talking about it. But Mrs. Beef, she gets upset in the one commercial where Dr. Rick is throwing their shit out because she's like, he's getting a little too upset at them. I'm like, they deserve to get upset at that. Like they should be fucked with for this stuff, you know, wanting to put the shit up. I just fucking love it. All I know is that you woke up early. No one cares. That's how I live my life right there. I live my life by Dr. Rick, what he says.
See, the part I like is if you printed out directions to get here, you're in the right place.
It's a great way to open a talk. So loud.
What are you drinking, dude? I know you're going through your liquor cabinet. What are we drinking tonight?
Yeah, so I as I've said in the previous show, I'm really not drinking other than this podcast. So I've got to, and I'm trying to not buy any booze. I'm trying to just get rid of the booze that I've got accumulated. So right now I'm drinking Jack Daniels.
Oh wow!
And ginger, and I feel like this Jack Daniels is probably left here by Polish with extra onions at some point.
Had to be.
Now, I had started off, there was probably a quarter bottle left. Right now, I have like one Aloha Mr. Hand shot worth. So once we get through that, I'm going to probably pick up the Jim Beam.
Oh, wow.
And I'll get that in there. I mean, I have all these weird bottles. When we have the normal opening day party, and I tell everyone, do not bring booze, at least 10 people will bring bottles of random stuff. Yeah. And so my wine cellar is filled with bottles of stuff. So I'm just little by little, like chipping away at stuff, like Googling on the internet, what could I mix with X bottle of booze? And so that's where we're at with this. So I'm going to continue doing this probably even into the season when we, fingers crossed, can get our asses in the stadium. When we're doing this show, I'll plan to be drinking random bottles of booze until I knock all this shit out. How about you, Teresi? What are you up to tonight?
So I got the Rev Jukebox Hero. It's a black IPA.
Oh, that's nice.
It's good. I got a couple more different Revs in there too, backing these up. But we'll see what we get to tonight.
Gorgeous. I mean, I love Rev. I'm a huge fan of Rev. I love the anti-hero. I actually love all the heroes. Yeah. Like you were mentioning the assorted hero pack is tremendous. Like the excellent IPAs for sure. And I like I used to like when Beta Brow. Didn't Beta Brow have like a dark
Yeah, so they had it was oh man. I'm trying to remember what it's called.
They had a ton of beers that we liked. Like I liked the Fruit Tsunami, but there was a dark that you and My Sock Summer really liked.
Yeah, it was the dry Schwartz.
Dry Schwartz. That's right. That's correct.
Yeah, it was a Schwartz beer. Yeah. And yeah, that thing, I think that was, to me, that was their best beer. I really like that one and the Red Velvet. Those were the two that I would always go to. You were a lawnmower guy, right? I mean, like
I was. Yeah, I like Lawnmower. I like Fruit Tsunami. I liked, that was kind of my area, right? I'll be honest with you. I would love to buy the Lawnmower and then have some private person make it. And then we just call it a 108 beer. I mean, I really enjoyed that, especially as a summer beer. We got people up in the YouTube comments. They said Joe definitely gets a priority screening in the Frank Zappa documentary. So they're saying he's into Frank Zappa. I don't know. I have no clue.
All right.
Our guy Tony the Mimbo just puts a big GFY in the comments
beautiful
there. And White Sox Sal says that I'm going to crash because I'm not acclimated. I assume to drinking whiskey. I'll be fine, Sal. Don't worry about it. If I fall out of my chair and I'm incapacitated, Teresi can talk for the next hour. No worries about that.
Did you get high to like kind of have your My Sock Summer bit going?
I asked My Sock Summer if I should get high, and he's like, "No, that's my bit. Just stay the fuck off. All right, don't do that shit." So, I respect his wishes. I'm not going to do it. Our guy King Nam says the Red Velvet was delicious.
Yeah,
Bader Brown made some great beers.
Big Red Velvet fan.
It's. I wish there would be a comeback. Don't call it a comeback. I wish there would be some money to get infused once we get out of this pandemic. Insert some money into that, reopen in Bridgeport, and then we got it, man. We got the team back together. I would love it.
You know what? Fuck it, man. Have our boys at Goose buy all the Bader Brow recipes. Start making that shit.
That would be amazing.
I'm in.
That's the 108 line of beers.
We wrote the business plan up. It's done. We'll send it off tonight.
Right, yes, I agree.
Before we get into some shit, Beef, I'm gonna pay some bills. All right. NFC and AFC championships are this weekend. And PointsBet is bringing back last week's dope offer. For those of you already there, log in, go to the game, and check out the plus 100 lines for the spread. If you're not familiar with that, it means juice is gone. No 110 to win 100. $100 bet wins $100. But of course, if you're just signing up, you still get that $250 free with a $250 deposit. So listen to your guy, Teresi. Head over to pointsbet.com. Click that red sign up button and use the code 108. That will get you a deposit match of up to $250. That's right. Turn $250 into $500 quicker than getting drunk in the 108. Once again, pointsbet.com. Sign up, use promo code 108. It's easy like Sunday morning. Pointsbet.com, promo code 108.
Wow, that was gorgeous right there, Teresi. I love that ad read. And what people don't realize is the no juice thing, back when we were hardcore advantage players, we would eat that shit up. And little do you know, we also still eat that shit up right now, betting more than I say we're betting online when I put up my random bets to fish you in to try to get you to join. We're betting multiples of that on the plus 100 because it's so awesome.
It's a beautiful deal.
I mean, it's PointsBet's really good about providing the promotions, and they're not giving you like a $20 limit. Like, I don't know what the max is on that plus 100, but I bet a healthy amount on the Bears, which didn't win. And they didn't bet an eye. Those bets were taken in an instant. It was not like when I bet on some other site that you all know I'm talking about, in which I tried to bet like $250 and it was a hassle. They wouldn't put it through and they wouldn't let me have it.
You know, Beef, if you did that plus 11 Bears, you should email. They got like a good karma, like payback. Like, and that's a good one because I think they lost by 12, right? And they didn't kick the extra point.
Yeah.
So like that, I think that's one that they would qualify. You'd probably get that back.
That's probably true. Yeah. No, I you know what? I have enough good karma in my life. I'm going to let that go. But that's a good point for anyone who is signed up for PointsBet through us. If there's something weird like that, you lose by a buzzer beater or something odd situation like that, email into the Good Karma group and see if you can get that money back. A lot of times they'll give it back to you.
Yeah, like I know they refunded that bullshit call in that Purdue bowl game. Like
yeah, as they should. I mean,
phantom pass interference.
I mean, I love that sports books are doing that sort of thing these days. It's
Yeah,
really good. It's different than back in the day when they would try to cheat us out of every dollar.
Right. I mean, like that's one of the good things about legal gambling, right? Like they're actually working a fan base instead of trying to scam people that are willing to bet offshore.
Mm,
All right. Enough about gambling. Let's do some 108 stuff.
sounds great.
If you're like us, and especially if you're like my Sox Summer, you're missing the fact that Sox Fest just ain't happening this year. No fucking Sox Fest. But what would it be without 108 Fest? And that's what we're going to bring you. So we would like to announce 108 Fest. Yes, no Sox Fest, but we'll be handling all the heavy lifting and the heavy drinking. You don't even need a hotel room for this shit, but just stay tuned. We're gonna give some more details, but it's gonna be next Friday night, probably around like 7:30. We'll get an exact time laid down and we'll get it out to you guys. But it's gonna be like Festivus. It's probably gonna be about 3-4 hours. And we're gonna try and get some heavy hitters for you. Bring in some people to talk to you, and we'll just talk some White Sox baseball for a long time. We're gonna have some beers and just have a really, really fucking awesome time, just like we would after Sox Fest every year. So we're bringing that back. It's gonna be online, which it's. I know you guys like to smell us and like to really get a taste, but it's gonna be as good as we can get this year. And we're gonna hope that in the next year we get back to our normal thing, like doing the bit at Reggie's. But for this year, it's online. We're doing it. We're not gonna miss a year just because of this bullshit. We're gonna make it happen, and we got some good guests for you. We're excited about it. We're still putting together that guest list, so there's a few pieces that are gonna fall into place in the next couple of days. But right now, I think it's looking fantastic.
Yeah, totally agree. So just to reiterate, that's going to be Friday, January 29th. So that's going to be next Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, the plan is somewhere between 7 and 7:30 and 11 or midnight, somewhere in there. We've got a bunch of people lined up. We're still working on people, as Treasy said. One thing to note, Josh Nelson from Sox Machine is going to be in there with us, just like we always do. So it's going to be Josh and us, except for this one, because it's not in person, it's going to be Josh plus us. All together all night. So just like you got for Festivus. I know a lot of you people liked Josh Nelson with 3 or 4 beers in him, shooting from the hip. You guys really enjoyed that. You're going to get that again. All right. It's not going to be the in-person where he's like chill and trying to be an announcer guy. No. He's going to be in the mix, in the muck with the 108ers. We got some guests lined up. Treasy, we want to name a couple guests just to tease a little bit, and then we'll release more guests during the week. How does that sound?
That sounds good. That sounds good. I would say let's maybe. I mean, I think a lot of people that watch us like listening to the score, and we might have a couple people from the score stopping by. So why don't we announce those?
Sounds great.
So Layla's going to be here. She's going to be on the show for 108 Fest, and then we're also going to have a tandem of Herb and Tanny. From the score and from Locked On Sox.
Yep.
And so
they'll be with us.
They'll be on there. We'll get to have it out with Tanny about his disparaging comments about our high school. So that should be fun.
Yeah, there's no question. And I actually brought it up when we were asking them, and he just laughed it off. It's not going to be a fucking laughing matter when we get on the YouTube and we're in front of all of you watching this. We're going to get at him. We're going to get right in on Tanny. And I know he's a producer behind the scenes and we're star talent. So it's unfair. Like we're going to be ganging up on him because we're on air star talent, but I don't care. He disparaged our high school and we're going to come at him.
I'm excited for Herbie too. Like, I mean, like he always
I love Herbie.
brings some fun. And like, I'm going to guess no matter what time we have him on, he's with the show till the end. Like
That's what I loved about him.
I don't see him bouncing. I think he's going to stick with the show.
At Festivus, once his segment was done, he asked, "Can I just stay?" And he muted himself, most of it, and he just was drinking and listening, laughing, and just hanging out. So, like, much like you guys saw him at Reggie's, the people that got to be at Reggie's, he probably won't be as off the cuff as he was at Reggie's. That was like an all-time live performance. Like you'll never see that shit again, kind of. But he'll be hanging. He'll be doing his thing. tamed down version on the YouTube, but it's still going to be a great time. Love hanging out with Herbie for sure.
All right, we'll give one more, and then we'll move on to the next thing. But the last one we'll give you is, so if you are a fan of Josh Nelson and Sox Machine, well, you'll like this, because we're going to also have Jim Margulis on the show. So Jim has had some hot articles about about right field, and I'm dying to talk to him about it. I want to see, I think we're all used to his written word and then his composed nature on Sox Machine podcast. Let's get him fired up. Let's get a couple drinks in. Let's get him fired up. Let's get him firing off about right field. I can feel the anger in him. I want to see it. I want to see it live.
I mean, I think we can get him riled up. I think you and I especially can get those juices flowing, can get that thing going with him. And maybe we'll get him to stay a couple segments. Maybe he stays beyond whatever his segment is and keeps going with this. I mean, I'll just tell you guys, we announced some really good personalities. There's some even better personalities we have not even mentioned yet that will get released slowly, and some that won't. Some are just going to be fucking surprises for you. So tune into the 108 Fest. You don't know what the hell is going to happen. It's going to be 4 or 5 hours worth of shit, and it's going to be like festive. It's going to be wild as hell.
There's one that's locked down that we are not going to announce, because it's going to be so fun. I'm excited for it. It's going to be different than something we've done before. So like
it's not what you might expect. Let's put it that way. It's not what you might expect for this thing.
Beef, you got any updates on the 108 tourney?
I do, actually. So first off, I want to thank Aloha Mr. Hand for doing some videos on YouTube. We changed the format this year. So Aloha Mr. Hand had done some print articles about the 108 tourney, but because now he's got a YouTube channel, we thought it was best for him to communicate that stuff through his YouTube channel, get that thing out there. He's done a great job in hyping the tourney like he always does. He'll probably do 1 or 2 more before we actually, push the button on this is the final bracket. And he's also going to join us again for the reveal tourney. So just so you guys know, Aloha Mr. Hand's going to be with us for all that stuff, all the 108 tourney stuff that we're going to do. But I realize that when you run a tourney for this long, so this is going to be the 4th year of the 108 tourney, one of the most important things you can do when you create stuff, Treasy, especially if it's an ongoing thing like this is, or any 108 thing that we try to make a tradition, is you have to realize when you've made a gigantic fucking mistake. And I made 2 of them last year in the 108 tourney. And so I just want to educate the crowd on those mistakes. Number 1, I gave buys to a lot of the number 1 and 2 seeds, when in reality, these are the people that everyone is coming to watch. It's the reason why you're involved in like sweating the tournament, is you want to see these big names and you want to see if there's a chance they can get upset.
But yeah, the 16 seed upset would be massive. It would
be huge, right? Exactly. The 16 or 15 knocking off the 1 or 2 is huge. So I'm eliminating that big mistake. I'm going to have the 1 and 2 seeds are going to be playing every single round. Okay. With the exception of the 108 bracket. That's the only bracket where we're not doing that. Every other bracket, they're going to be playing every single round. Number 2, I included too many real media types. Okay. In the early years of the tournament, this is probably a necessity because we needed to get people looking at this tournament and get people excited and interested in it. And yes, those people in general get more votes on their polls because they have larger followings. However, I think the real spirit of the tournament is the true people, like the legitimate people that are out there every day, chatting it up, talking to each other, going back and forth on Twitter. So what we're going to do for the media types is we're going to do a conference tourney style for them. So they're going to have to earn their way in to the tournament. And there's going to be a smaller group of them than there were last year. Last year, I think I had 22 people that were real media. This year, it's going to be a much smaller number. We're not exactly finished with that number, but it's going to be a lot smaller. And in lieu of those folks is going to be just the regular White Sox Twitter person. And we think that's going to make for a better tournament. We think that overall, you folks are the ones that really make this thing. You're making videos, you're making memes, you're dissing each other, you're just having a great time with this thing and sweating each other's polls, like retweeting someone else and saying, this is my person. I want them to win.
I also, to that is one of the things, one of the cool things that I liked about the tournament over the years is like, you put people out there, and then like people, it's like a huge follow Friday, right? Like people are like, oh, I don't know who that is. Let me go check this out. And like people gain followers during it because
Right.
you're experiencing all these new White Sox fans and like going to check them out. Like everyone knows who Chuck Garfien is, right? I mean, like
Right.
no one's adding Chuck Garfien because of the 108 tournament. But like, like maybe we mentioned someone who's like really funny, but like the Twitter algorithms have never shown him to you or her to you, and so we get to put that person out there, and then like, even if they don't make it past the first round or the second round, like this is a new Twitter follow for you. And now you got a new person to talk to about White Sox. It's awesome. I love that part of it.
I mean, that's a great
the part
culture,
of like having all the, just having the normal people we interact with, as opposed to having, all the media types.
Yeah, there's no question about it. And that's a great culture, Easy, because someone like Summer George last year, gained 1,000 followers because all the stuff he was doing. I mean, the thing Summer George was doing in the 108 tourney was kind of revolutionary for the tourney. He was like setting the bar a lot higher for people. And even people like Jimmy Vanicki and King Nam, and like a lot of people were really pushing it, Lauren Wills and Janice were pushing it a lot with doing videos, interactive videos with each other as their opponents, like really interesting stuff. And that's what the 108 tourney is about. It's about having the fun content. Now, one thing I saw out there on Twitter, even today, was there was concerns about like, yes, if you do well, you're just going to get smashed by White Sox Dave. And so it doesn't matter. So I got to announce this right now. We've talked to our friend White Sox Dave, the 3-time champion. He's going to be retired from the 108 tourney. He's been a gigantic supporter of ours since the very beginning. He's been a huge supporter of this tournament. However, we kind of discussed it, and we felt like it was time, and he felt like it was time for a new tourney champion to be crowned. He just felt like it's time to step out of the way. And so what we're following is a little bit of a model like advantage players do with the blackjack ball. So the blackjack ball is like an advantage players get together. So kind of like White Sox Twitter, it's a small group. This small group, they do their thing. Once someone wins 3 times, you're ineligible, you're out. Okay. And so the way we're doing this year is White Sox Dave's out. He's not going to be in there. However, the old celebs bracket is going to be renamed the White Sox Dave bracket. And the part that I think we're most excited about, Terezi, is that White Sox Dave is going to be named the chancellor of the tournament. So if you remember William Shatner in dodgeball, he was the chancellor. That's White Sox Dave's position.
Right. So he's going to have some special roles within the tournament moving forward. And so he hasn't been told what those are yet, but he's open to anything, according to him.
That's what he said.
We'll see.
He said that. He said, whatever you guys want to do, I'm up for it. That's what
down for anything is what I heard. That's what I read, And so we'll see if he truly is. But yeah, like, so I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be fun to have him as the chancellor, and also for I have no idea who's going to win now.
It's wide open now.
Truly wide open.
If you look at last year, and Dave is such a strong personality, he barely beat Summer George, right? And the year before, he barely beat me in the final, right? So it makes you realize that a regular ass motherfucker can win this tournament now that White Sox Dave's not in there. So it's going to be extremely interesting. And because we're shrinking the celebrity pool and we're widening out the pool of regular ass motherfuckers, there could be a random Cinderella that makes a run. I mean, if you remember last year, Father Zoe was kind of a Cinderella. Jordan Lazowski, when they met up against each other, was kind of a Cinderella. I mean, you're going to run into spots where I've misseeded someone and they get a little bit of momentum and they just pop up in this tournament. So I'm really looking forward to this, the way it's set up.
Yeah, I'm hyped. I can't wait. It's still like over a month away. So
it's like 2 months away, basically. It'll be like mid-March.
Mid-March, right? So yeah, so we're going to be rubbing. That'll fly.
I was going to say we'll be there before you know it. So last note on this, watch Aloha Mr. Hand's videos. He's going to be coming with more stuff as we get a little closer, and then we'll do a big reveal show. We'll probably do it here on YouTube. It'll be the two of us, My Sox Summer, Aloha Mr. Hand. We'll reveal the bracket. We'll break down the bracket, and there's probably going to be some more surprises. We have some more stuff that we haven't talked about in this podcast right now that we know is going to happen, and a few things that Treasy and I are kind of working on that we think might be good additions to the 108 turn. So be here, check it out for that. One last thing, 108 announcements, and my stock summer's not here today, but he asked that anyone who bought a cutout on 108 day, check your email, send him a picture ASAP as possible. All right. He needs that shit immediately if he can get it. So ASAP as possible, send that shit to My Sock Summer. If you don't, you're going to be on our shit list. Okay. Maybe we'll block you on Twitter. All right. Get your shit together. All right. We appreciate the donation to charity, but you know what? You got to follow through on it. We don't have half-assed bullshit in the 108.
I will even send my pictures to My Sock Summer. I've been busting his balls by not sending them. I will finally send them tomorrow. And so you guys gotta also do the same. All right. So now we're gonna go through a little exercise. It's just the brothers tonight. So let's do something where we can really disagree about shit.
Let's fight.
We're gonna do, we're going to build the White Sox lineup versus right-handed pitchers and then versus left-handed pitchers. But the key here is that we're not just going to give our list. We have to agree on this lineup. So we will have to come to an agreement that this is the lineup that we want for each side. And so, Beef, let's start with versus right-handed pitching.
Sounds great.
Because I think that's where the problem is bigger. And they're going to face more righties. So let's start there. And I will say, I think we're in agreement on the number one spot, which is the Tim Anderson spot. Like, he's not getting moved off of number one. He's the leadoff hitter.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think from a clubhouse chemistry standpoint, you don't mess with the apple cart. And actually, I looked back to 2019, and Tim Anderson hit the shit out of right-handed pitching. So I think the small sample size that people were dealing with in 2020 is like, oh, Tim didn't hit that good against righties. I mean, he had 1,000 OPS or whatever, 1,200 OPS against lefties, but that was carrying everything. It's like, it's a small sample size. Let it go. He crushed righties in 2019. So yeah, I mean, to me, it's a no-brainer until he proves he can't do it. Like,
yeah, he has to lose that spot. Like, it's his spot.
Exactly. I mean, I remember like my brother-in-law, he got his MBA from Kellogg at Northwestern. And so I talked to him, and we're in the pool drinking and 108ing. And I asked him, I said, so what's the big advantage of having the MBA from Northwestern? He said, well, Beef, it works like this. Let's say you and I are of equal value, equal competence. You have to prove that you can do it because you don't have the MBA. I have to prove that I can't do it. And so that's where Tim Anderson is for me. He's got to prove that he cannot do this against right-handed pitching.
Right.
Then we'll figure out something else. He's the man.
No, that's a good call. So we'll get to the two hole here, and I think we're going to disagree because you know who I got there?
Who you got?
Adam Eaton.
No way. Absolutely no way would I put Adam Eaton there.
Why not?
Not even close.
High on base percentage against right-handed pitchers. Like, he's a guy who's gonna hit, and he doesn't, he's not terrible, and he's gonna get on base a lot, and he's probably not gonna ground into a ton of double plays like the guy you probably want here.
No, actually, I mean, you want a guy who was legitimately bad last year. I know it's a small sample, and we're kind of like worried about the small sample, but he was legitimately bad in 2020. And okay, so fine, maybe he'll bounce back from that.
So give me who you got then. Yeah, I want to hear who you have that wasn't terrible last year against them.
I got Yohan Moncada.
He was terrible against right-handed pitching last year.
He's 25 and Adam Eaton's 32. Like, Adam Eaton's in the twilight of his career. Okay.
You're being ageist now.
I am being ageist, but it works for baseball. So fuck it. I don't care. Look, I think about it this way. The way the White Sox are positioned right now, and we may get into this kind of later on in the show, they're banking on kind of some of their upside, what the remaining upside is, right? They haven't insulated the roster like we all wanted them to, right? They could have gone out and got a George Springer. They didn't, all right? They said our team's on the floor, all that bullshit. Part of our team being on the floor is Yohan Moncada bouncing back and being a really good player, being an all-star level player. And so if he becomes that, if you're trying to win this thing, he's hitting second.
Isn't that what they're assuming out of Eaton, though? Like they
No,
have to
they're
be,
not.
right?
They're expecting dead cat bounce.
I'm going to ask you an impossible question.
Right,
why did they sign Adam Eaton then? Like, why would they sign this guy if they don't expect him to be the two-hitter?
I mean, I think they signed him because you in theory, you have this floor of a guy who makes enough contact, he doesn't strike out a lot, and also walks a fair amount. And his power was a little bit suppressed in the previous ballpark, right? But in Sox Park, he's probably projected to hit 15 home runs or something like that. So it should pump up both the slug and also the on base just by changing locations of where you're at. Now, that doesn't mean I want him hitting in the top third of the order. You signed a guy for a minimal amount of money. If you put him in the pecking order of your best players, he's in the bottom third easily, right? I mean, no one would say Adam Eaton is one of our three best hitters, right? Correct? And I think the way you build the lineup really is put your three best hitters up the first three spots.
Now, are you looking at this from an on-base percentage standpoint? Or are you looking at just pure best hitter?
Just pure best hitter, total value. Like I get the arguments for on-base.
Why are you not putting your guy Madrigal in that number 2 spot then?
Because he obviously lacks the slug part. And also he hits a million ground balls. I don't want to put Nick Madrigal in the number 2 spot there. And then he hits into 30 double plays during the year. Like he could hit a soul crushing amount of double plays. If you ask me, I don't know. I'm like the two people that I went back and forth on with that number 2 spot were Moncada and Grandal. And I figured Grandal is also a threat for double play, but he's going to strike out or hit home runs a lot more than he kind of hits into the ground ball double play. So I thought he's a little safer, but Moncada has the untapped upside, right? All right. Grandal's going to hit to what he hits. Like he's in his 30s. He's going to be what he is.
I put Eaton there just to make you mad. So I will give you Moncada at the 2 spot. Okay. I think we're going to agree on the next one. I think we're going to have Abreu in the 3 hole. Like, I think that's just where he is.
I think it's pretty safe to put him there. There's not, you could find a reason to move him back. You could find a reason to put Eloy in this spot, but I don't want to do that. I don't think it's worthwhile to switch the 2 of them, especially because, Eloy was great last year, not as good as Abreu, but he was great. And if he has a little downturn, the team's going to be upset at that shit. So I leave Abreu there. I leave the constant. I leave the elder in that spot.
So yeah, I agree. I mean, I think these middle spots are a little, they're givens. I think Eloy is next, right?
Yeah.
But a question on this one: what position is Eloy playing in your lineup here?
So in my lineup,
he's in left field in mine.
He's also in left field for mine.
Okay.
Yes. So there is an option. You could put him at DH here if you chose to against right-handed pitching. Maybe it's possible that some of us might have moved him to DH against left-handed pitching. We'll get to that in the next part of the segment.
So my problem with him at DH in this position is that there's no one on the bench that could hit right-handed pitching that I would put in the outfield.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, the right-handed pitching lineup is really struggling right now. And I listened to Sox Machine podcast last night. And it's something you and I have been screaming about for 2 years, Teresa. I mean, it's everyone's coming now to our level where you need to build depth. You need to have a really deep team. You need to have this whole fucking roster filled with players that should be starting, but aren't starting because you have a real good team. People don't get that. Too many Sox fans are looking at you can't block Andrew Vaughn. Yes, you can. He's got a long time before he's got to be on the 40 man and before he's forced his way on the roster. Put Absolutely. Good players here. If shit happens and people get hurt and he's dominant down there, great. Bring him up. That's kind of the program you want to build. You want to build a program I hope Andrew Vaughn's great, otherwise we're fucked. That's a bad program, in my opinion.
So, okay, so the 5 spot is going to be, it's up to you because I had Yohan Moncada there.
All right, so I'm going to go with Yasmani Grandal there.
Okay.
And it might be a little suboptimal because of his on-base skills. I'm not sure if this spot is the best spot for him, it's probably, I mean, in theory, I think you could flip him and Moncada. You could put him to and Moncada back here. It depends on what Moncada we get.
Right.
If we get a Moncada that looks like 2019, where he's putting balls in play with authority, but he also has the walk rate of 2018 and 2020, then he's a monster. Then he has to hit second. If he's some like lower version of that, I think he hits fifth because you can still utilize the power and the speed back there, but the on base might not be there. So like right now I want it to be Grandal, but it's possible I flip them too.
All right. So let's put Grandal there because I didn't have one. And
okay.
And now we'll throw him in there. Question there is, what position is he playing?
He's catching.
He's catching. Okay. Yeah. So this is going to make me angry later because we're more than halfway through the lineup now, and we haven't named a DH, which means our DH is terrible.
He projects to be terrible, maybe.
So I had Grandal DHing just so that I could feel better about the other guy I'm going to have to put in this lineup.
Okay.
Right. So, but anyways, So we got Grandal there. So now we're looking at the number 6.
6
right?
spot. Yep.
I think this is way up for grabs.
I do too.
I had Grandal here, although if I just, if I swap things around, I'm either moving up Luis Robert into this spot I had him at 7.
Okay.
Or I'm putting Adam Eaton into that spot as the, instead of where I had him. For me, I'd have to do Luis Robert.
I mean, that's not a bad choice, to be honest with you. But the guy I've got right here, I've got my man. He always makes contact. The Magic Man, Nick Madrigal. I want to bet him 6th. And here's why, Treasy. Like, you might overrule this, and Robert might be a better choice. But I've been thinking so much about the way he makes a lot of contact, right? And they don't really utilize that well. Like, you want to put the guy with a lot of contact in a spot where he could drive in some runs with all that contact. And putting him in the 9-hole is a waste, in my opinion. And I don't know if you have him there or not. I don't care. That's stupid. But I think a lot of people were like, he's great for the 9-hole. No, he's not. He's a good hitter. Move him the fuck up. And if people wanted to put him in the 2 spot, I don't like it, but I'd be better off than the 9-hole. But I like him in the 6 spot.
That's tough because I'm just not sold. I'm just not sold on any type of slugging here. And like,
there's going to be none. You're right. There's going to be no slugging.
And after this, there's a lot of strikeout in the lineup, right? So like, my concern is having a bunch of slow dudes on base at this point, and then like you're putting up Madrigal to ground one through there, and now you got the bases loaded for 2 dudes that are going to strike out.
So
now
that's fair. Actually, that's fair.
That's
a good call.
The more you can put the bases loaded for Luis Robert, the more I'm going to like it. So
Tracy, what if we do this? We put Robert 6th and we put Madrigal 7th, because in the event that Robert starts laying off that slider, he's also going to be on base. You're going to have base runners all over the place. Robert can run. They can do a hit and run. They can kind of like, there's like a little like interplay between them if Robert matures as a hitter. Like, you and I are thinking of Robert as he's going to strike out 35% of the time and hit bombs. So he's never, ever going to be on base kind of thing. But what if he figures it out and it's only 25% and the walk rate goes up?
Okay, then let's do that. Let's put Robert there. You know what also too would be good for Madrigal would be if we got Robert on first base from time to time. That puts a tremendous amount of pressure on the pitcher. That pitcher's going to be paying attention there. I like that. Okay, so let's do Robert and then Madrigal.
Okay, so we got Robert 6, Madrigal 7. Now we got the 8 spot.
Well, this is Adam Eaton. This is
where it gets fun.
Because I don't know. Well, I mean, it could go either way. But do we both have Zach Collins on this lineup?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So like it's Collins and Eaton. And so like in theory, you could say Eaton in the 9 spot so that he might get on base in front of Timmy.
That's the way I have it set up.
Okay. So
I mean, I'll be honest with you. Like you and I are both not.
I hate it, by the way.
I was going to say, you and I are
this.
both not Zach Collins stands. We're both like, but thing is,
if you have him on the roster, gotta let him bat.
Just play him. Yeah, I was going to say, if he's going to be part of the 26 man and you don't sign someone to be the DH, make him the fucking DH for at least 2 months and let's figure out what we got. I don't think we have anything, but let's find out. Maybe we get a mistake here. Maybe we figure out we got a guy. I mean, we haven't had a lot of those weird, like low end happy surprises. And I know he's a first round pick, but like at this point, people are pretty much, I mean, other than the goofy Zach Collins stands that are morons, the regular fan that kind of knows what's going on is like, yeah, it's probably not going to happen. But then maybe you get something to happen. Like Rick Hahn's due for some shit like that. Like he hasn't gotten shit to happen out of like a regular ass guy.
The only one he has was a catcher. So
right, and he's in Nueva York right now.
So maybe similarly, you can put this guy in positions to succeed, and you put him against, I had him catching, and the reason I had him catching is because I would only be playing him in this scenario as a catcher if we're against a weak right-handed pitcher, right? So let him feed, like he's gonna catch, let's call it 40 games this year, right? 30, 40 games, you think? Yep. This is that lineup. He's catching in that lineup, and we're going against some junk ass right-hander, and let him hit bombs. Like that. I want, like, remember John Buck with the Royals?
I do. Yes.
He'd hit 20 home runs and he'd bat like 84, like that. That I'll take it. I'll take the 20 homers, right? If that's what you're gonna give me, I'll take it. We'll play 40 games. You hit 20 homers. I'm in. Like that's
Treasy, we got some comments on the YouTube. So we got my guy Alex Rude. He says Moncada 2, Grandal 3, and then you slide Abreu back to 4. I actually don't hate that, but I kind of like the contact forward hitter in the 3 spot, especially if you got base runners. Like that's the way to drive in runs. Like I know that RBI is a dumb stat. Allegedly, it's not really. It's got its values, but you kind of want a guy who's going to make contact because that's the guy who drives in runs. The guys who walk a lot and hit, and strike out a lot, they only kind of drive in the runs on the home runs. So that's not their best placement in general, in my opinion.
Also,
another comment.
Wait, one real quick on that.
Yeah.
Jose is the big swinging dick. You don't mess with it.
He's the MVP.
You let him be at his spot, and then he will, if he plays himself out of that spot, that's one thing. But like he owns that spot. He's the 3 hitter, and like coming in as a new manager and fucking with that ain't a way to win the clubhouse over.
No, that'd be wild right there. So we got a couple other thoughts here. So Jose Munoz says Sox gonna be the only team in MLB with the DH batting 9th. It's possible. I mean, it's really possible. We put him 8th, but you're very possible
right there. That's what was making me upset, and that's why I DH Yasmani so we could have him earlier. It was I don't like to think about that. I don't like to think about wasting the DH spot.
But they're gonna. I mean, unless they sign someone.
Because I was looking at, I was like, okay, maybe we DH Eloy and then we throw Lurie out there, and then you got a better outfield. But Lurie sucks against right-handers. Like he doesn't have good numbers against right-handers.
Right, he hits lefties much better.
You might as if you're gonna do that, you just put Engel out there, right? And hope that Engel learns to hit righties and becomes, because if he did, that would be a lottery ticket too, right? That's like he's already a guy you could put in the outfield, play really good outfield, and he could hit left-handers. Like if you did this, you could say, okay, see if he hits right-handers. He can't, but if he did, it would be like winning the lottery.
Right. That's exactly right. Another comment, White Sox Sal, we can't do better than Collins at DH. Get the fuck out of here. I know. I mean, this is what
look at the roster
right now.
Look at the roster though. Like who's the better DH than Collins without deballing yourself at another position, right? I think I just named everyone on the bench. unless you're going to have Danny
Right now.
Mendick. Like you're going to have Danny Mendick DH. I don't know. Like what else you
No.
got?
I mean, when you break down the lineup and you see kind of the back end of it, you start realizing how thin the White Sox are. If you get like 2 or 3 injuries during the year, the White Sox are no longer a good lineup, basically. I mean, like they're an average ass lineup. If you get a couple like nagging injuries, people are out for a couple weeks, which happens every year to every team. Like this is one of the things where you'll see certain people out there. The White Sox are like arguably one of the best teams in the American League. Yeah, arguably. But they're also a team that's in the middle if they have any kind of injury risk. Like anyone gets hurt, it's problems.
When Moncada gets hurt.
When he gets hurt, exactly. You know,
the team's bad. Not bad, but like the infield gets way worse, especially from the hitting.
There's no question. One last, and then we'll switch to the left-hand pitchers. So my guy Alex Rude, he's like, look at the numbers, 3rd versus 4th. Abreu won MVP after his uptick in performance. He had hitting in the 4th spot. Don't read too much into how much guys hit in certain positions in a lineup. It doesn't matter that much. It's really hard to tease out like real effects from that. It's super noisy. So I wouldn't worry about that too much.
Especially in the
really good hitter. You
size
could hit him
had.
2nd or 4th or 3rd or whatever. He's going to be a good hitter all the spots.
Especially the sample size that we had is so small. I mean, like if you're thinking of a part of a partial season to say that like this is when he got better. When he got better was when he changed his launching, like when his launch angle changed, right? Because in the beginning of the season, when we were talking about him and people were talking about, moving him down the lineup, we were talking about the fact that he had insane exit velocity and was going straight into the ground.
He was hitting ground balls.
And so that was like the biggest problem. I don't think the change of position in the lineup affected that. I think it was more, his approach and getting the ball in the air.
And White Sox Sal says the White Sox lineup is a Ponzi scheme. That's correct. It actually is.
Yes.
All right. So, Treasy, let's move on. Let's move on to versus left-handed pitching. Now, this is going to look a little different in my personal opinion. I'd love you to start off. Give me your first 3 in the lineup because I think we might be kind of lined up. We'll argue about it.
What's funny is my versus lefty is basically what you had for versus righty. So like I have Timmy and then Yohan and then Jose, and that's my 1, 2, 3. What was yours? Who do you have at 2? I would like to see if it's different.
All right, so I don't have Yohan because Johan's had some problems hitting right-handed. So I mean the power's still there, but a lot of the contact kind of goes away. So I pushed him back. I actually against left-handers I have Eloy hitting 2nd and DHing, and then I still have Abreu 3rd. Now I could have moved Abreu up, but I thought, forget it. Every day the MVP bats 3rd when he's in the lineup. When he's not in the lineup, he's probably hung over or whatever, and he's not ready to be out there playing baseball. But when he is, he plays 1st, he bats 3rd. That's the way I thought about it. What do you think about Eloy hitting 2nd?
I don't know. I kind of wanted to keep my 1, 3, 4 the same kind of every day.
Yeah.
But I don't hate Eloy hitting 2nd. I would like to know then who do you have batting cleanup?
Okay, so my cleanup hitter is Grandal in this situation. And catching.
Yeah, I have him catching in this scenario too. I don't want Zach Collins anywhere near left-handed pitching. As much as we're going to give him a chance.
I can't look at that. I mean, against righties, it's probably going to be rough to begin with. I can't watch it against lefties. So what do you think, number 2 hitter? I mean, I don't think it's Moncada. So if you want to argue about this, Moncada's not an argument. You put someone else in there.
I mean, I could put Madrigal there, but I don't love that myself.
That could work. I mean, even someone like Luis Robert could work against lefties hitting 2nd.
I don't know. I want to keep Luis Robert lower in the lineup. I want him to figure things out. I want to take the Timmy route with him and keep him lower in the lineup.
Yeah, put the pressure off and let him play defense.
Because he's awesome on defense. Like he's incredible to watch. And if he's in the 7 hole and he's hitting, 20, 25 bombs, but not getting on base a ton, I'm good with that, right? That's a fine year for him.
So in the comments right now, our guy Aloha Mr. Hand says Madrigal in the 2-hole. Look at who the manager is.
I get that.
I could see that too. I mean, but I think I don't know. I forget. Was LaRussa there long enough with Pujols where they moved him up, where he was hitting second? Because I remember Pujols hitting second.
Yeah, I think that might have been him. That's like late 2000s, early 2010s, right?
I mean, some of the stuff. I mean, I don't want to go off on a tangent here, but like some of the stuff with LaRussa. Okay, I don't like LaRussa as a guy, right? But as a manager, he seems to adapt to whatever the fuck is going on and understand acutely like some of the best strategies. And when they're looking at him, they think this guy's a moron. And then in hindsight, they're like, oh, that was actually a really smart way to do that. That guy took into account everything that's going on. So I'm not willing to doubt anything that he's willing to do right there.
So you know what? Fuck it. Let's go with Aloha Mr. Hand and let's put Madrigal in the 2 spot.
Okay.
Madrigal in the 2 spot. And then we have I'm thinking Jose and Eloy.
Jose and Eloy, yep.
And Eloy's DHing.
He is.
Because I think everyone who's listening to this or watching this, that we're getting to Adam Engel is starting in this lineup.
Yes.
But so and I don't hate that, to be honest, especially against lefties. But so we get to the 5 spot, and I think we would probably have a toss up here of, are you going to put Yohan or Yasmani here?
I mean, I like Yasmani.
So you really don't like Yohan versus lefties is what I mean. Like Yohan from the right side, you're not feeling it.
Not yet. I mean, I would love for him to have a season where it looks like he's broken through, not where he's like treading water. Like even his really good year in 2019, he was like treading water against lefties, and he killed right-handed pitching. All right, I'd love to see a year where he's better than treading water. Like here's the thing, it's an advantage. Like I'm sure he's hitting better by switching against oppo pitching, but let's play to our strengths. Let's make the offense as good as possible, in my opinion. I mean, that's how I think about it. Like, no shame in that.
If I'm hearing you right, you're willing to give Zach Collins at bats to see how he does, but you're not willing to give Yohan at bats from the right hand side.
I mean, I'm not going to put Yohan in the. I'm not putting Yohan in the 8 spot. Let me tell you that. He's not going that far back, but he's in the lineup. He's pushed back a little bit. So I like Grandal. You want to fight it out? You think Moncada better? Tell me what's up, baby.
Moncada better be batting 6th in this damn lineup. Well, I don't know how far you want to push this dude back. No.
He's going back.
Who's in front of him there?
Okay. So are we decided on Grandal 5th for now in pencil?
No, fuck you. Now I don't even want that.
Okay.
I don't want Moncada either. I'm going to put Luis Robert there. Just to be an asshole.
Batting 5th?
Yes.
I'm in. Let's do it. Let's put Luis Robert 5th.
I thought you were going to be mad about that. Damn it. All right. So yeah, let's put Luis Robert 5th.
And I love that idea.
We're going to push Moncada back to 7 is what you're doing here, because we're going to go Grandal and then Moncada.
The White Sox have
they have
ridiculous lineup against left-handed pitching, right? Like,
man, this is unreal to me.
You're almost giving Moncada a day off.
Saying Moncada's batting 7. Yeah, I know. Like, that's what it feels like.
So I'm going to go Grandal 6, Moncada 7. There's no way that there's no one in their right mind will pencil in Moncada as the 7th hitter in any lineup.
I know. That's what's upsetting me right now. But yet here we are.
I mean, but you can argue it. You certainly can argue it. Like, I like Luis Robert against lefties better than I like Moncada. I like all 6 of the guys in front of Moncada better against lefties than Moncada until he proves it.
So
I'm sorry.
So what we've done here, what I'm looking at, these 7.
Yeah.
We've created the perfect storm for a national broadcast. We are going to put Adam Eaton and Adam Engel back to back in the lineup to let the terrible people on TV try and get to. Who do you got? You got Eaton out of the lineup?
I do. Against lefties? I do not want to see Adam Eaton. I would like Adam Eaton. He is welcome to go and hang out at Punky's and eat cheeseburgers all day. He's not playing against left-handed pitchers. Number 8 spot, I've got in left field, I've got Lurie Garcia.
I don't want it. You know what? No.
Lurie Garcia is better against lefties than Eaton would be. There's no doubt.
No. That's fine. I don't disagree with you there. But you know what? If we're gonna roster this motherfucker, Micker Adolfo starts. But he's starting. I want to see that.
That's funny. Actually, you mentioned him. James Fox tweeted today that he got granted another option. So great.
Oh.
We don't have to. He can stay.
I did not see that. It's amazing. Okay. Yes. Okay. Then
I saw that. I retweeted that with the eyes. I was like, oh shit. Like, good. He's going to stay in the minor. So he's not on the roster. He's not going to be on the roster.
That is absolutely hilarious. I wish I would have seen that so that I wouldn't have made that call. But actually, I'm glad we talked about it. So then, you know what that means? There's an open roster spot.
There is. Yes.
There's a wide open roster spot. So
it would be so White Sox to sign nobody and carry both Zach Collins and Yermin Mercedes in that spot.
You know what then? Yeah, I'm gonna put Yermin in left. And
don't you dare.
That's fine. And you know what? He's batting 2. He's gonna be my number 2 hitter as well. So let's get that.
Nope, this is thrown
out.
No,
we're not penciling that in? Ah, fuck. All right. So I don't want to give you Lurie. I don't want Lurie to start. I don't want to live in that world. I don't know. I just don't. I don't want to.
I mean, Lurie's going to play, and why not play him against lefties? I mean, like, Eaton doesn't hit lefties. Collins doesn't hit lefties.
Well, Collins is not. No,
you're not playing those guys. So why wouldn't you play Lurie in this spot?
I think it's my reluctance to have a platoon in right field and in left field.
It's kind of a DH platoon, if you will. I mean, even though they're switching.
Yeah, it just man, I just hate it. I really want someone else to be signed. Is really what I'm looking at this and just going like I want someone to be signed. But I'll give you Lurie, but Lurie's got to bat 9th. I'm gonna put Engel in the 8th spot. Lurie
That's fine. I'll do that.
And the reason I do that, is because I think when Lurie makes a stupid running error in front of Timmy might just kick his ass, and then we'll be in a better spot as a whole as the White Sox.
It's bound to happen. There's no question about it.
Oh man, I'm defeated after this. I tell you, like I got a lot of problems with everything that's going on. And you know what? You know what's funny is it could be cured by signing like one dude.
Oh, there's no doubt. I mean, like, if you put a legit bench player that hits left-handed in there, you got it. If you put a legit DH in there, you've got it. Like, there's a lot of stuff you can do right now if you're the White Sox and really line this shit up where there's no problems. There's no problems whatsoever.
Yeah, it's and you just gotta hope. You just gotta hope that they're looking at this and saying, okay, there's a bunch of guys and they're starting to get signed, and there's still this whole middle area of dudes, and people are going to fall to be really cheap, and we're going to pick one of those guys up. But if they don't, this is what we got. This is bad. And this is not what you're arguing about when you're going, this is the best team in the American League. You're not arguing about this shit.
You can't see through to, what if this happens? What if there's injuries? What if this guy's ineffective? You can't see through all this shit.
You don't have multiple platoons. You don't have, I don't know who the backup catcher is. You don't have those things if you have a really good team.
There's no question. Teresi, I need a bathroom break, so you're gonna have to talk to the audience by yourself. Do a soliloquy if you can.
I'm gonna look at some of the comments and see what people.
I love it.
So let's see. Is MSS signing his DH contract? Is that really where he is? I don't know if for those of you who've watched in the past, MSS apparently is like one of the worst hitters of all time. Our guy Slim Mick, who's a softball aficionado, he runs softball teams all year. He plays like 7 days a week. He's probably at a softball game right now in the middle of January. But he had MSS on one of his teams, and he was like, he's bringing in this big motherfucker, this giant dude, and he was like excited for it. And he's like, dude just hit like piddly ground balls. And he was just like so upset with it. So, you know what? Now that I think about it, that sounds like a White Sox DH. So maybe that is actually correct. All right, let's see. Let's see what else we got here. I don't know what that means. Yeah, I don't have a lot of other comments in here to go. I mean, like, I think a lot of people hate Adam Eaton. I think we're getting that. And I could agree with that. But
that's no shock.
Beef, welcome back.
Oh, thank you.
So I think we're going to get into a little section of the podcast that we're going to just call Potpourri. And each of us are going to bring a baseball topic or two. And we're just going to discuss it. And this could be really anything. That was all the ground rules for each other was just a baseball topic. So I'll go first if you want, especially since we're talking about DHs right now. I think a lot of people talk about the universal DH rule, and there's many schools of thought on it. And we're not going to talk about that in particular, but I'm going to give you one rule that you can throw out, a baseball rule that you could just kick to the curb. It's just gone. In the 2021 season, this rule no longer exists. If you want, I can go first.
You know what? Actually, I'll go first. Man. So I think one rule that MLB's abided by this rule for a long time, and I kind of wish they could get out of it, especially with the universal DH coming through. You can never lose the DH. DH always stays in position. You never lose that. I've seen some articles. I saw Jason Stark talking about how you should get rid of the DH when the starting pitcher gets out of the game.
I hate that. I hated that. Yeah.
Fuck that. We're not doing any of that shit. DH is DH. I mean, to add a rule, I think what I would do is I like these 7-inning double headers, but if you're going to do them, each team only bats 7 players.
Oh,
clip off the bottom 2 hitters. You put your best 7 hitter lineup because everyone's getting.
I think our previous conversations steered you towards this. You're like, this lineup would be great if I only had to bet 7 of these dudes.
The White Sox have the best 7 only hitters in baseball, right? If you had to put a 7 only hitter lineup out there, but you think about it this way: that each team uses a starter, right? Then they're going to their 8th inning guy in the 6th inning, basically. Like, you're closing out the game a lot faster. So fuck it, let these good hitters get up more often. I mean, I think if baseball was willing to do stuff like that.
Wait, so let me ask a question on that.
Go for it.
Do you still get a DH? So like our 3 it would be like 3 dudes.
Yes.
Just like, so it'd be the pitcher
just
and
playing the field.
2 dudes just playing the field.
Just playing the field. Yep. Yeah.
I love it.
That's such a horrible existence for those guys. They're like, all right, fine, I just grab a glove. I don't do anything today except catch balls if they're hit to me. Like, terrible. But I think it's the optimal way to play the game if you're going to go down that path. Like, baseball's got to adapt to certain things, and that's what I would do.
That would, like, being a left fielder in a 7-inning game where you're only batting 7 guys, and that's all you're playing. You might actually participate in the game for like 2-3 plays. I don't know.
You'll never be involved.
That would be hilarious. I'm down with that.
How about you? What are you thinking as far as rule elimination? I think there's a lot of room to add rules. I'm not sure how much room there is to like extract them.
So they added this rule recently, and I'm going to rescind it immediately. Is the 3 batter rule for relievers. Just a stupid rule. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't speed up the game because it just doesn't. Because you're talking about like, oh, it speeds up the game. No, this guy's gonna pitch poorly to 3 batters instead of just 1, and where he would pitch okay and then be pulled. It doesn't speed up the game. It doesn't make anything better. It doesn't make the competition better. And in fact, will eliminate guys from the game who are specialists. And so you start to lose those guys. So you on the batting side, you still, and in fact, the baseball's going way towards having specialists. So we just talked about that for like 40 minutes or whatever we were just talking. Like, so the batters get to be specialists, but the pitchers don't get to be specialists. That seems like bullshit to me. And like, I don't know what we've gained from doing the 3-batter rule, other than hearing announcers talk about how many batters this guy's faced and when can he be pulled, and let me explain to you how this works. Like, it doesn't help. I did not enjoy any game better because I was like, oh great, Joe Blow gets to pitch to 3 batters this game because this is the rule. Like, it's a nonsensical rule. Get the fuck out of here with it.
I mean, I totally agree. I mean, I think their intention was to push for like not having the loogie guy, but the loogie guy can still weasel their way in there. They're still pitching. Like, they're not totally eliminated. I think what MLB really wants is they want more balls in play, but doing what they did didn't really do that. It didn't speed the game up at all, like you had noted previously, Treasy. I mean, like, the ways to speed up the game would be like pitch clock or shorter commercial breaks. I mean, like, that's the real way to speed up the game. Like, the action is not infinitely longer than it used to be. It's commercial breaks. It's time between throwing a pitch that is a lot longer. So if you want to speed that up, fine, you can do that. I mean, I know Theo Epstein just took the position of like improve the game or whatever, and he wants more balls in play. I mean, the easiest way to put more balls in play, I'll give you 3 simple ways to do it. 1, move the fences back. Move the fences back. No one's shooting for the guy that strikes out at 35% clip, but hits the ball on this launch angle, right? They want the guys to make contact, right? Number 2, move the mound back, all right? It's going to lower velocity. It'll increase the effect of breaking pitches. However, if you can sit on a fastball, it'll be easier to sit on a fastball, right? In theory. Number 3, make the ball bigger. I mean, like, they haven't kind of even thought about this shit. Like, just make the I mean, you don't have to make it that big, but like, make it bigger because people will make contact with it more. Like, I was thinking about it the whole time. I was like, they're talking about all these solutions. I'm thinking, just make the bat or ball wider or bigger and people will hit it more. Like, I don't even understand. Hey, does anyone understand physics here?
We don't have fans anymore. Get the aluminum bats out there. No, but you know, here's
you have netting around the whole stadium. Get the aluminum bats. Fuck them. Let's see how the pitchers do with that aluminum bat.
No, we put up the screen in front of them too, like batting practice. Yeah. But Beef, here's one to get more balls in play. Add 2-3 more teams.
There's no question.
Then that pitching, like, obviously you hate pitchers. So yeah, let's get thin out the crowd, because I think, at least it feels like, you could keep finding hitters. Like, it doesn't seem like especially if you're going to make a 28-man roster and add 2 to 4 more teams. Everyone will have a fully different left-handed versus right-handed lineup.
I mean, Treasy, what it is though is aesthetically. It's aesthetics, right? So hitting the home run is way more valuable. So anyone who's not a really good hitter is trying to hit the home run almost all the time. So like, yes. This is the point I see out there on the internet. I see my guy King Mac saying, well, hitters aren't as good as they used to be. That's not true. There are a bunch of hitters that are as good as those great hitters used to be. But the bad hitters realized hitting a bunch of balls in play are bad for me. I'll just get this launch angle and hit a home run. Here's what you do. You want to change this? I got it. Don't move the fences back. Well, move them back, but put a home run line. And then if the outfielders go back and catch the ball beyond that home run line, that's a fucking out. All right. But there's no one there, like there's no stands there to catch it or whatever. Then you'll see the change in the teams deciding which type of hitter they want. They're not going to want that motherfucker that hits that launch angle. They want the line drive guy now because they got these big gaps because they got a home run line. Like you can always change the rules to make it look like whatever you want. But MLB is a little scared of doing that, right? They like the home run strikeout thing they've got going on right now, even though it kind of sucks as far as like putting balls in play. And like we all know the like watching a triple play in action is awesome, right? I like home runs. You like home runs. Everyone likes home runs. But watching a triple play in action is really fun. Watching someone hit a triple is really fun.
So
they're scared to go that way.
The triple to get the cycle is probably one of the most exhilarating plays you'll ever see because it takes you right back to Little League, right? Because you're like, oh, this fucker's just gonna go. He's just gonna run until he's out. Like you get enveloped in that feeling of just like this is just tense because you know he shouldn't be running and you're just gonna see if he makes it. It's such a that's one of my favorite plays in baseball.
I mean, that's fun, and that's when Jose Abreu had his cycle. I mean, like was so much fun, even though it was a terrible team. And like you kind of want your baseball.
Had those triple plays that year too, I believe.
Were awesome. Yes, the Adam Eaton triple play against the Rangers or whatever. Like, yeah, that shit is fun. Like having the balls in play are fun. I'm thinking like any one of those changes, which they'll never do. Like these are way outside the box, so like they can't think of them. Like I'll die if Theo was like, we'll put a home run line in. We're going to move back all the fences. And we're going to do – no way they're going to do all that shit. But, like, really, you want outsized changes for this shit. If you really
What about just real giant gloves? So
I mean, like, there's a lot of shit you could try, and they won't try any of that, right? They're going to do dumb stuff. Like, they're going to do the pitch clock, which, fine. The pitch clock will probably work
pitch clock's
a little bit.
Stupid,
but it's dumb, right? I mean, it's kind of dumb. Like, who cares? Teams will figure out the way to game it. They'll just throw to first or whatever, and it'll still stretch the game out. Like figure out a way to make, and not to mention like teams could, any one team, and no one's done this. Any one team could self-select for more contact hitters and more speed, and say we're going to be the 85 Cardinals, and we're going to move our fences back. We're going to put AstroTurf. And fuck you when you come play in our ballpark. Your launch angle shit ain't going to work because our fast outfielders will catch those fly balls. And we're going to have soft tossing pitchers that won't strike no one out. But our fielders are going to catch all this. Like baseball is so much, like there's so much collusion going on. No one is really fighting to like try some other shit that no one else would do and figure it out. The Royals are the closest.
That's what the Portland team would do if we would just add them. You know, just a gigantic field, 600 feet to the gaps. Like you never know until you allow those teams to exist. So let's add Vegas, let's add Portland, let's add Nashville. And these are all great places to go too. So we'll just go party.
I mean, those are good locations.
Add one more Florida team. Why not? We'll just put it in Cuba.
Sounds good.
The Florida Marlins of Cuba. All right. So Beef, why don't you throw one at me?
All right. So I'm going to go in reverse order from what we talked about previously. So I'm going to go with in this podcast, we previously talked about Yolki, my guy, Cespedes. Now we don't expect that much from him. But then a few prospect sites had him ranked pretty well, even though he's a 23-year-old. They, they're not saying he's Wander Franco, but they're saying it's pretty good. And then you look at the White Sox, they had signed Yolbert Sanchez 2 years ago at 22. He's almost 24 by now. Older guy as well. And then this year in this group, along with Cespedes, they signed Norge Vera, who is 20, right? So like 20 and a half. He's not quite 20. He's almost 21. So what they're doing is a little bit unconventional for as far as how other teams operate in the international market, right? It's not the same thing. Most of the teams are looking at 16 and 17-year-olds from Dominican Republic and Venezuela. So my thought is this, Treasy. Is it possible the White Sox are hitting on a market inefficiency? Is it possible that because everyone's focused on those younger kids from those certain countries, that because of that, because they have a bias against these older prospects who've kind of played a little bit of pro ball but could have some development to do to them, is it possible the White Sox weird strategy? Like I think most fans think when the White Sox do something avant-garde, that's dumb because the White Sox are dumb as an organization. And whatever everyone else is doing is smart. Is it possible this is a market advantage, an inefficiency, and the White Sox will reap the benefits of signing these older guys?
So here's the only reason that I think it could be. And that's, you look at especially Yelkis is a good example, right? The guys at Fangraphs, they're looking at this and they're going, I saw him play a few years ago and it didn't look great. But also, Cuba is tough to pin down. There's not good analytics on this. There's not a lot of there's not a good way to gauge the competition they're against. The competition is a lot of those guys have left. So now the leagues there aren't as good. It's tough to say where does this person slot in. So you're basically taking away the mathematics of this and bringing it back to a scouting situation. Right. So, the guys in Moneyball that I know you and I are fans of and just like enjoy seeing what guys can do with taking the numbers and really, putting those together and then asking a guy, are you seeing the same thing that I'm giving you here? You don't have that part. You have a guy looking, watching, and trying to make that determination in small sample sizes, which is extremely tough. And it's possible, not probable, but it's possible that the Sox have focused in on that market because they have limited resources in the international market. We know this. They've said, okay, well, no one's looking here. Let's look here as hard as we can and use old school tactics to understand what's going on with this. Let's put the people in place because those are now the cheapest people because they're not the analytics guys.
Right. Yep.
And put those in place and say, is this possible that we can find something that others could not find? Because people don't really want to pay attention. People don't want to spend the time to figure this out. It's cheaper for them to do this in other markets. It's possible that that's the case. Again, not probable that that's the case, but it's possible that that's the case.
It's easy. I sort of felt this way. I sort of I was looking at it and I was thinking about it. I was listening to Future Sox. I was listening to them talk to Ben Badler about some of this stuff. And it hit me like a ton of bricks. I was thinking, if everyone's doing this other thing and you're doing this thing kind of almost by yourself, there's an opportunity to mine some gold here, in my opinion. Now, I don't know if it'll work. So maybe they have an advantage, but the sample size is going to be really small of garnering these Cuban players that are a little bit past the prime. Like they're not young players like these Dominicans and Venezuelan players that are 16, 17. You might not even notice it if they got it right. Like it's possible. It's one of these things like Treasy. Once in a while, you and I would find something when we were doing arbitrage stuff. Sometimes you'd find something in a market that was a great bet. You knew it was a great bet, and it yielded almost no profit in general, right?
Yeah, I mean, so let me give an example of that because there's some good ones, right? Like, so if you were to bet on something like the under 19 soccer markets, right? There's not a lot of play in those, but you will get times where there becomes a huge advantage. But every time that huge advantage shows up, it's on like a plus 900 or plus 1200 bet. So it's possible to continually bet on that. And even though you have an advantage on it, never win a bet, right? Like you go 0 for 20 because you were talking about, 12 to 1 shots, right? But if you hit one of those, it doesn't take many hits to make it well worth your time of finding those. And so I think that that's kind of the comparison I'd make, right? Like, yeah, it doesn't, it won't yield so much, right? Like, let's say we pick up 15 guys this way, right? They're 20
Yep.
to, let's say 20 to 23-year-old Cuban players who have never played in a level above what we would consider single A.
Yep.
And you bring them here, and it's possible none of them hit. But if one does, it was probably worth it. It was probably worth the effort.
Yep.
Now, the problem is that that's where all their attention is. So it's basically like Robin Williams in Good Will Hunting, when he's like, I got the winning ticket right here, right? Like, I mean, like this, you're betting on the lottery. You're not going like, I've got all this going, and that's fine, and we're picking from there, and it's all good. But I've also got this special little lottery stash over here. If that ever hits, woo boy, no, you're going like, I'm putting everything over here. Right. This is where all my money's going. We're going to see what happens. So they may be hitting a market inefficiency, but it's a super high risk market inefficiency that they're going after. So it's high risk, high reward, but there's no other, there's nothing like Wu-Tang Financial would be disappointed. They're not diversifying the bonds.
That's right. Well, I mean, they also have almost no opportunity in these other markets. Like, if you think about it this way, and we'll close on this point. Think about the Dominican markets and Venezuelan markets. It's very tough to get in there unless you've got a good infrastructure built, right? And so the teams that really crush on this shit, they're all built up. They've got academies and all this stuff. The White Sox feel like they're not a team that put the infrastructure in. They didn't put the money in there. They're having Marco Patti kind of look from the outside and figure out what he can do. And that's why, like, he normally can't really put all the money in play because he's not really on the inside of all that shit. However, now they might have an angle in the Cuban market. And even though these people are a little older, maybe it's a play for them. One comment from the YouTube, White Sox Sal says, really 23 years old or Yinka Dare 23 years old? I don't want to talk about a Yinka Dare 23 years old, which was like 38 or whatever it was. I'm going to assume Cespedes is a real 23 years old. Treasy, hit me with the next one.
All right. So the other day, we had the fake trade of Corbin Burnson, right? That's who it was.
Corbin Burns.
Corbin Burns. And also, we just picked up Liam Hendriks, and both of those guys, if you look at like when they were bad and then when they became successful, if you look on a site like Baseball Savant, you'll see that there was a big shift in their actual pitching mix, right? Like, so they changed something drastic in what they did. So I think we've got a lot of young guys. Some of them have underperformed. Some of them have, just not been there yet, or we've seen them in very limited amounts of time. We've got the new pitching coach coming in, new pitching program. So my question to you is, who's going to be the guy that makes like kind of a massive or drastic change in what they do that kind of accelerates their career? They hop up 2 levels that you didn't expect them to do, and you really see something special out of them this year.
Oh man, that's
and this is obviously, we're guessing, right? Like,
we're guessing,
like
yeah.
we'll take what information we know and say like, okay, this guy's got some talents, and maybe if the right things came together, what would happen?
That's a great question. I mean, I think the one guy who's been primed for this for like 3 years right now, and I don't know if it's like a pitch mix, like eliminate a pitch. I don't know if it's a mentality thing, but it feels like if you can just line this guy up well, I think Jace Fry could become a fucking world beater, because he seems like the type of guy who has shown flashes of being this elite reliever. And I know you have Aaron Bummer and you signed into the contract, and you know you have Garrett Crochet, but way back before those guys, all of us OG fans who suffered through all kinds of bullshit, we saw a glimmer of hope in a Jace Fry, a guy who looked promising, who could get hitters out on both sides of the plate. I think there's probably just a small adjustment. Like if Ethan Katz really focused on him, this killer bullpen that you're proposing to have, like he'd be a welcome addition to this shit. Like I think he's really the guy, like could make a big step, could be a guy, and then like the 108 would obviously love this guy, but regardless, I mean, I don't, I want it to be Cease or Lopez, but I feel like it's Jace Fry.
You want him to have like a couple Neil Kotz years and live off of it forever.
Yes.
I'm feeling that. I like that.
How about you, Teresi?
So I'm thinking Dylan Cease knuckleball. No. He's got the knuckle, and then he has a 98-mile-per-hour fastball.
Yes.
So I was looking at, like, I keep hearing, we've got Lopez on this. We're working with him, and like there's some special things coming out of Lopez and all this. And it made me wonder if that's a guy who you see a different pitch from that you have not seen, right? Like, and some pitches that he throws that you've seen in very minor amounts. So his sinker, he's only thrown like 13 times in his professional career. So I'd be surprised if it was that. But he has thrown a curveball from time to time. And like, could you see him like making that more predominant? Or could you see him going, you know what? I'm going to be a fourth or fifth starter, and I'm really just going to go and be a two-pitch guy. And I'm going to throw a fastball and a slider. And it doesn't matter if batters catch up to it, because I'm only going to see them twice in a game, right? I'm only going to go through the lineup twice, and then I'm out. And if he really focused on like just like a four-seamer and a slider and just was nasty with both of them, throwing them both up near 100 miles per hour and saying, I'm going to pitch 4-5 innings max. Like that is something that I could see happening. That's something that I could see like them going like, this is your lot in life. And if this doesn't work out, this is still the makings of a high-end bullpen guy. Like I could see them going that route with him and really just accentuate and just go like, focus on these two things. Don't worry about anything else. Be great at these two things.
So I think we got it. I think we marry Jace Fry as the opener, and then you bring Lopez in doing that shit for 4 innings. And between the two guys, you get 5.5, 6 innings. Like I would love to see the White Sox try to do some shit like this. Like I mean, I think a lot of White Sox fans who've been here for a while, not the newfangled ones, are like, Reynaldo has some value. I don't want to throw him away. Like there's a lot of people who are kind of newer in this thing. Like we're going to get into this in my next topic, but there's a lot of us that have been here a while and we're like, Reynaldo is worth something, right? And when you pay him $2 million in arbitration, most of us were like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And there were a lot of the new fans who were like, what the fuck? Don't give that guy $2 million. It's like, you don't know what you're talking about here. I would love to see this, Treasy. I think there is a spot for this. I think Reynaldo Lopez is on this roster and is an impact player in some way, shape, or form this next year. I think he's either a reliever or he's the type of starter you're talking about, the guy who backs up the opener. And I think the White Sox will start to embrace this. I think Tony La Russa is open to all this shit. I think he'd be willing to do any and all of these things. He's seen this shit in the last 10 years he's managing. You're all thinking of, like 1992 Tony La Russa. Look, this guy's fucked up in lots of different ways, but in one way in which he is razor sharp is he wants to win baseball games. And we all know that, right? We're all in tune with that. And like, as much as we might not like him as a person, he's probably lined up to figure out how we're going to fucking do this, how he wants to win the next title, and how he wants to avenge all of his ghosts as a White Sox manager. I mean, I'm not worried about that in any capacity. I think he's going to be trying his hardest fuck to do this.
Do you? I mean, like, really, like, if you're listening to this or if you're watching this right now, do you hate a guy who throws 4 innings and every pitch is 98 plus miles per hour? Like, I want that guy. I'm fine with that guy, and I'm fine paying that dude $2 million. All right, Beef, throw one my way.
All right, my second one. So this one's going to be a little long-winded, Treasy, and we're probably not going to solve it tonight. But I want to talk about fan psychology, okay? Because we're on Twitter a lot, and I think there's a lot here to unpack, and we won't do it all tonight. But I want to look at viewing upside potential versus downside risk. How are fans viewing the White Sox offseason and the White Sox 2021 chances, right? There are people, big accounts, that are saying the White Sox are arguably the best team in the AL. Okay. Then there's other accounts like ours who say, well, the White Sox should be in the top 5 in the AL, but they should keep adding because they're a little too thin right now. Right now, even within the 3 of us, my Sox Summer will defend the sort of, we should wait and see. Let's just see what happens. You know, I am, and I think you are too, sort of a protect the downside guy. You know, like in the midst of contending, you want to make sure you have the lowest volatility outcome, right? When the team wasn't shit, we were all for taking tons of risk. Grab that guy. Let's take a chance on this guy or whatever. But now that we're here at the precipice of like being a playoff team, you want to insulate the roster. There's a fair amount of people that don't block the prospect guys. We have Andrew Vaughn.
Yeah, no,
but that's
bullshit.
Yeah, honestly, it's extremely risky strategy, right? Anyone who works for, I mean, you and I both work for firms. I don't want to call us investment firms. You work for a tech firm. I work for real estate, but inevitably it's investment. We're trying to protect our downside, right? We know we've got some upside here, and the White Sox are the same. They know if Luis Robert becomes a 7-win player, you're in really good shape, right? The White Sox have upside. I forget what baseball book it was I was reading, but it was talking about how scouts by nature are trained to look at the upside of a player, right? But on the other side, the front office and manager types are trained to look at the downside of those players, right?
Oh, that's a
great combination. I kind of wonder, what's that?
That's a great combination.
I mean, they should be married together, right? It's good. You want the scouts saying you could find a guy here, whatever, take this upside, and then the people that are making the decisions, like, okay, let's mitigate downside with this, right? I mean, like, I think marrying it works.
I get it. I hate it.
I think it works well, actually. But what I was wondering is, like, as you look out on the White Sox Twitter, and we see lots of back and forth and arguing and all stuff, I wonder if there's certain professions or personality types that lock best with the White Sox are arguably the best team in the AL, or the White Sox are paper thin and they need to add a bunch to the roster. Like, what do you think about, like, personality types, people, all this stuff, how we line up as, like, thinking about this? Because there's a lot of this sort of argument and it's unresolved and it's got people going crazy, but I think it's just human nature. It feels like human nature.
I think it's optimist, pessimist, and realist, right? These are really what we're talking about, right? Because an optimist is only looking as far down as what we went, the exercise we went through earlier of, like, who's the lineup. Like, they're only looking at the best possible lineup against and your starting 5 rotation, right? That's the team, and who's your closer.
That's it, right?
And no one's ever going to get hurt, and it's going to be fine, right? And a pessimist is going to look at more along the lines of, here's all the things we didn't do. You didn't get this guy, you didn't get that guy. These guys are great, and you missed on all these guys. And then I think a realist is going to be more in the center of, okay, we have a bunch of good guys, and that's a good base for your team, but guys get hurt. Guys underperform. Let's make sure that we have guys to fill those spots. And those don't have to be, like, no one's saying like your sixth starter is Trevor Bauer. Like no one on earth would, say some shit like that. Or even to think that Lance Lynn is going to be your number 5, right? Like these are these are things that are just not going to happen, right? But you are going to say, like, out of the 5 starters that you have, right? Like right now, that one of those guys is going to get injured, and one of those guys is going to underperform. And then so who are the guys behind them? Who are the other 2 starters that you have waiting in the wings to handle this shit? And it gets thin, right? On the offensive side, someone in your infield is going to get hurt. Is it going to be Madrigal, Timmy, or Yohan? Like out of those kind of the more prime positions, the ones that are harder to replace than a first baseman. Like which of those guys is going to get hurt, right? And then how are you going to replace that guy? Who's coming in for that guy? And right now it's Lurie for all 3, right? And so you're kind of like, okay, well then maybe we don't have that depth, right? And then I think that's the realist view of this, right? And I think that's not the main voice when you're looking at this, right? And I think it's really optimist and pessimist really battling it out on these Twitter streets. And the optimist, you're just wrong. I'm sorry. Like that lineup is not going to stick. There's going to be guys. Adam Eaton is probably already hurt, right? And so, and Luis Roberts not going to hit 40 home runs. He's likely not going to do that, right? Jose Abreu is not going to have the same year. And you pessimists, like they can't just sign everybody, right? Well, they can. Theoretically, they could. They could have a $500 million payroll. That's fine. They're not going to. We know this. Don't act like you've not rooted for the Sox for like the past 20 years. Like we're not going to sign everybody. So
now that's different. That's different than enforcing like they should spend. You should spend is different than like you build out a payroll that's way above expectation.
Absolutely. I'm not saying that, but I'm like, you shouldn't be surprised when they don't go after Bauer. Right. But you should be disappointed when they miss on guys that are obviously cheap and they could have got like that could have fit. The fact that they went and got Adam Eaton so quick is a thing to be mad about. That's a thing where like there's tons of right fielders out there, and why would you go out and get an aging guy that only hits from one side? Like it only hits one pitching side, I should say. Like that's a problem, right? Like I don't disagree with that, but like I think overall you have to kind of take a realist point of view and look at it and go like this. They're not good enough right now. They're just not. But I don't think that. But I think like they could fill those holes. They could still do that. But I think the opposite ends, the optimist and pessimist, one is done. They're good. And then the other one is like, you missed on Springer and now the shit's over. You better get Bauer. And I think we need to find a middle ground there.
I mean, I think you're right. I think that's how each of the groups would react. But I was more sort of thinking like, why do people react in a certain way? Like, I'll give an example, Treasy. We did the Brew Fest end of 2019. So in the ballpark, we were one of maybe 2 or 3 that weren't brewers that had a stand. We were doing stuff. And so you invented a game in which people can win stuff. So we did a trivia contest. And it was wild because there were thousands of people there. A lot of them came up to our booth. And our questions, if you asked me, were remedial to Sox Twitter, right? Sox Twitter would nail all the answers of all these questions. No problem. We were hitting about, 15% rate on some of these questions.
I mean,
and they were wild shit like, name one starter who threw a complete game in the 2005 ALCS besides Mark Burley. And people were missing that at a high clip. Like, you start realizing that the majority of White Sox fans are not like Sox Twitter. They're just waiting back, looking to see if they have a team that they like. players they like, people they like to root for. And so it makes it even more interesting when you look out on Sox Twitter and they're totally split on the, Sox main moves or whatever. That would lead me to believe that like it should be more generous. Like the Sox are doing a kind of a bad job if it's split, that people are not like very comfortable or very secure with the moves in an offseason, which the White Sox should be competitors. And it was kind of funny when people were looking at the Fangraphs depth charts where they accumulate the F WAR for teams. The Sox were second, then they got pushed back to third. Now they're pushed back to fourth because the Astros made a move. And truth be told, if the Twins do almost anything, they're going to be behind the Twins before the regular season starts. And then I don't know where Sox fans who follow that shit are going to be.
Yeah, the inactivity or the activity for like just minor blips. When you have a team that's at the cusp of contention, it's not going to go over well. It's just not. And I think there's a contingent, like I said, that is like optimistic and like I'm looking at the lineup and the lineup looks good. I'm going with that, right? And I think the prospects are going to come through. I think Michael Kopech's going to be back. If you believe all that, if you can put that parlay together and say I'm betting this, like that's fine. But I don't think that you're right. I don't think that you can do that. There's a disconnect there, and I can see why people are not happy. But I am not at the point of doom and gloom over this. Right? There's moves to be made. You just can't let the Twins make them. I think that's like the main thing that you got to be like. We still have to beat the Twins and possibly Cleveland, because if the prices get low enough, like Cleveland picking up a corner outfielder and a shortstop, that's not good. Like you don't want that to happen. Like if the prices dropped on Marcus Semien to some unreasonable rate and the Cleveland is just like, yeah, well, we're going to sign this guy for $8 million. That's fucking terrible for us.
Yes. So let me go to the YouTube chat. So White Sox Sal says, are the Twins going to do anything? Well, they signed J.A. Happ, who will get crushed by the White Sox. But I assume they're going to continue to sign people. I read an article the night before they signed J.A. Happ. Their 40-man's at 36. So I assume they're going to keep adding players. And actually, it's really easy for them to improve their WAR because their DH WAR is almost like zero. So it'll be real easy for them to add someone, slide Josh Donaldson over and like add a win or two and then like be ahead of the White Sox. And then people will say it's total bullshit. See, here's how it works, Dreezy. When the White Sox were up in the F4 depth charts on Fangraphs, that's what you should believe. When they fall behind the Twins, total bullshit.
So
not worth your time.
Let me ask you, if the Twins sign Justin Turner to play third base and move Donaldson to DH, like they have a better lineup than us, right? Like they just do.
Yeah,
they're at the point they have a better lineup than us, and yes. And we're built on we have the better lineup, right? I know we got Lucas Giolito, we got Lance Lynn, we got Dallas Keuchel, but the lineup is where the strength is. We can knock the shit out of the ball. Yes. If they can knock the shit out of the ball better than us, what are we doing?
Well, we're hoping we get a wild card. All right, next question from YouTube. Liam Menus is prepared to be disappointed, optimistic or pessimistic?
I think that's pessimistic.
And the last one, Mailman Jack. I feel it's more sadist or masochist.
So
which are we right now?
Masochist. So I don't recall which one's which. So I'm not even going to be able to tell you.
I mean, I'll be honest. We're optimists. but we'd like them to insulate the roster more. We'd really like more talent on this roster because there are scenarios in which Adam Engel plays every day, Zach Collins plays every day. Those are not happy times. Those are really bad times.
Yeah, I mean that's a good point. What if Yasmani Grandal gets hurt?
Right.
What does this roster look like with Yasmani on the DL? Because it's horrible. Like it's Sebi Zavala or Zach Collins taking at bats every day, and possibly
it's a really
both.
bad roster.
Yeah, I mean, like, and those are the things you're looking at. That's when you let Jason Castro go to the Astros. That's what you're looking at. That you don't have a guy. You don't have anyone there. That's unfortunate.
All right, so last topic. That's you, Treasy.
So I think I went through the fake trade, and I went through the removal rule, but we'll go one more.
Let's do one more.
Just because we touched on it. Where is the next expansion team? Where are we putting an expansion team? We touched on it a little bit. Give me the next one.
All right, cool. I actually I was looking at cities that do not have baseball but have football. Okay. And if you look at those, like one of the best cities that does not have baseball but has football already has a great stadium, kind of could build it out. Charlotte.
Yeah, where the Knights play.
Yeah, I mean, like you serve the AAA team and you put the Knights somewhere else, and you put a major league team right there.
Yeah, I think that's one that makes a lot of sense, and I think they've got the population to do it. They've already got the stadium to do it. From my standpoint, I think an interesting one is Nashville.
Oh wow!
I touched on it a little bit when we were talking with the Sox in the Basement guys. We were talking about Cleveland, and the concern of Cleveland fans of like this team might just up and move to Nashville. Maybe that's why the name change is happening. But Nashville, again, has an NFL team, and so and they've got a growing population. They have a hockey team, they have a football team. There's no baseball team. It just feels like they would want a team there. They can support a team there, and I think people love to travel there, right? And it's like
right.
if you put let's say you put them in the division, you don't have to remove Cleveland, but like if you put them in the league and the Sox are going to go play there, tons of Sox fans are going to go there.
For
right?
sure.
Like that's definitely a destination where people are going to go. They're going to go to that game. It's similar to like putting a team in Vegas, but there's more in the Vegas one. It's more of a longer destination for most people, right? It's kind of in the middle of nowhere. So like unless you're in LA and you're driving, so like if you're talking, but when you talk about something like Nashville, a lot of places are close to Nashville. A lot of places are drivable to Nashville. I think that would be a huge draw if you put a team there.
I mean, I think it's worthwhile for MLB to explore this and actually put teams in all the places in which there is an NFL team and there's no MLB team. And there's a bunch of those spots right there, like what you mentioned, a bunch of them. Or move some of the teams that are in fucked up spots right now. Like, I mean, Liam Menus just mentioned in YouTube, New Orleans, another spot.
Yeah.
Like, if Cleveland can't afford a team, if Pittsburgh can't afford a team, move that team, give it a new owner, let's infuse some money into it. Like, I really feel like MLB's in a spot right now, and I think it's an old school ownership thought process. And I think Steve Cohen could help move it out of this. Like, let's get some people that have some dough that want to move the business forward and put teams in those cities with those owners who can actually do some shit, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I love a team in Pittsburgh and in Cleveland, but if you're never going to spend, if you're always just going to collect from the big teams, we don't need you. Like, get out of here.
Right. What are you doing here? But I will say Cleveland has been successful doing it. Like they've made playoffs. They've been a good team. So I'm not gonna hate on them too much. Yeah, the Pirates still, that
they
could go.
They're out.
All right, Beef. It's been a pleasure. And don't forget, next Friday, 108 Fest. It's gonna be wild, and it's going to be much longer than what we just did here, but we both have to work tomorrow and we can't get as drunk as we will on the 29th. So we will see you then. Thanks everyone